Hello people, this video is the very first episode of the mini series that we start from today, and the topic that we plan to cover in this series is Java full stack programming. I am Avantika from Archon Solutions and I will be your facilitator for this series. The goal we plan to achieve by the end of this series is a basic understanding of what does full stack programming mean, what are the various tools and frameworks that are used by the IT organizations across the globe, what are the job opportunities in this space, and how to choose your career path from the wide variety of possibilities offered by this job profile. So without wasting much time, let's get started with our first episode where we'll touch base on what do you really mean by full stack programming. To explain the significance of the word full stack, let me start with an example. Those of you who already have some background on programming may find this example a little redundant, but to bring our newbies onto speed and to give them a firm foundation, I will take few minutes of this example to explain on what a full stack can be related to in our real life. The simplest example that I can pick from our day-to-day life is movie making. Now, if you try to imagine the journey of movie making, anybody could say that the beginning of the movie starts with a good storyline. So someone comes in with a very good story, a beautiful story to tell to the audience. Now, when the producer likes that story, the story gets converted into script. Now, script is nothing but defining the characters and adding flesh and blood to the story and making it something meaningful in a more detailed fashion. Now, once the script is ready, the producer and the director decides who in the industry can serve this character to the fullest, who can convey the message to the audience in the best possible way and do justice to the character. So like that, we slowly start deciding who will do the lead, who will be the villain, or who will be the choreographer for the dance, or who will be the musician, who will be the lyricist. So there is a big team involved behind movie making. So we start casting for each and every aspect of movie making. So that's called the team of the movie maker. Now, once the casting is done, the script is ready, we have a story to tell, now we can start the shoot. Now, for shooting, we start deciding on the location to go to, the strategies to take, the techniques to shoot in, the VFX to be provided, the background information. All the techniques are decided to, again, this ultimate purpose being communicating to the audience what the storyteller wanted to tell them, right? So that's what shooting would convey. Now, once the shooting is done, now you already would be knowing that shooting is never done in one full stretch or in sequence. Shooting is always done in bits and pieces where the location changes, the characters' costumes changes. Yeah, and sometimes the shooting would be done in a closed room and through VFX and by adding different modern techniques, you just change the background. So all that is done with the help of editing. Yeah, where the music will be shot somewhere else, the song would be recorded somewhere else, then the dubbing artists come in. So all this is part of editing. Now, when the editing is done, that is when the story, the characters, the shooting, the location, the song, everything gets tied up into one full string, and that forms the sequence, and that is what goes on to the screens. So editing is a part where all these small aspects that was developed during the course of action gets tied together. Now, once the editing is complete and the movie is ready, the producer and director tries to release the movie into the theaters where the audience come, watch it, enjoy and applaud it. So this is particularly the journey of movie making. So here, if we try to translate this example into the programming world, what the audience sees on the theater, on the big screen, is nothing but the front end. When an audience is watching that movie, they don't know what pain has gone behind the scenes, what all struggles the actors or the directors or the cameraman has gone through, what are the hiccups they had, they don't know. All they see is the ultimate product that you see on the front end. For example, in our programming world, it's a website. When you open any bank's website or maybe a Pay ATM website or anything, or even a booking.com website, what you see in the front is the front end, is the UI, it's the movie. Yeah. Now, this Now, if we again flow through the same procedure that we went through for movie making and substitute the fundamental aspect of it and draw parallels with the programming world, then we can see that movie making example fits in so perfectly into the programming world. For example, story. Story was what? The fundamental. Story is equivalent to the requirement. A requirement that a customer comes in with. For example, if it is a customer says that I want to have a billing software. So when a customer comes to us with a requirement saying that I want a billing software, that is a story. That tells that the customer is in need of a billing software. Now, that was just a one-liner. That's called the thread of the story, right? Now we need to understand in detail from the customer that what exactly does he mean by a billing software? Okay, what does he want to bill? Is it a restaurant billing application, or is it a retail industry? It's a shopping mall or whatever. Okay, so we need to add flesh and blood to that one-liner requirement that's given by the customer, which is equivalent to developing that one-liner requirement into a big requirements document which completely defines what exactly this customer is after. Starting from how he wants to use it, what inputs he can give, what output he expects out of that application, what reports are to be generated, what is the font of the application or the bill that should be generated from the application should look like. So all these finest of finest details has to be fleshed out from the customer by understanding how he is planning to use this software or the application. So this is, we can draw parallel with that example of writing the script, where that one-liner story was developed in the script. We are converting a one-liner requirement from our customer into a full requirements document, which is called the BRD. BRD stands for Business Requirement Document. Yeah, now that we have a happy customer with us saying that yes, I need it and I trust you in making this application, we form a team, and in that formation of the team we find out what tools and technologies are we planning to use to build the software, and we recruit similar resources from the market who have previous experience in these tools and technologies. For example, if we decide that we are going to build the UI in, say, HTML, that's a very simplest form of UI development. We are going to build it in a very simple way. We are going to use HTML, and the backend we are going to build in Java. So we go out in the market and find out expertise in HTML and Java and form a development team. That is equivalent to casting. Right? Now we have a team, we have the requirements ready. Now we just need to start developing. Right? Development is where the programmers start coding to the requirement and make sure that the ultimate product that comes out at the end of the development matches exactly with what is defined in the business requirement document, that is the BRD. So now a development team can be like, for example, 4 developers, 2 testers, and 1 business analyst. Okay, so 4 developers are sitting and developing, and as and when they are finishing, they are churning out the software pieces to the testers. Testers keep testing, find out the bugs, and give them back to the developers. They keep developing, fixing the bugs, and this cycle continues. And finally, there will be a point when the development is complete and the testing is complete. Now, just the way a shoot is complete doesn't mean that we can ship that product to the customer. At the end of the development, we cannot just give it to the customer. How do you give it? You can't give it in a USB or give it or burn a CD or put it in Dropbox or Google Drive. No, we have to deploy it. We have to integrate it with the customer's environment. Just the way we do editing in movie making to put the pieces together, we do integration in the programming world, where we tie the front end, for example, the website that we built for his bill inventory management, to the backend, and the database that is used, we tie them all together, we deploy it, that is install into the customer's environment, and make sure the customer is able to access the product that we have deployed. Once we make sure that the product is accessible to the customer, then we say release the software. That's called go live in the programming world, where we have gone live with the Just the way we watch a cricket match and we say the match is live, that means it's real time. So we say go live. That means the product is ready, released, deployed, and ready to be used by the customer. So at the end of this example, what we can draw in a nutshell is that first of all, we need a customer who gives us the requirement. Then we have to convert that requirement into a requirements document. That's called the business requirements document. Once the requirement document is ready, the development team is chosen and the development team starts to code. Once all the coding and testing is completed, we start integrating the various pieces of the application to form one complete application. And once the integration is completed, we deploy into the customer's premises and the product goes live. So in a full stack programming, as you would have seen, that a team is involved in building a complete end-to-end application, starting from the UI that the customer sees to the core functionality and the logic that sits behind the scenes serving the front end, and the storage of the data that is generated by the user on a daily basis, and ultimately tied together serving the purpose for the customer. So this is called full stack development. Now in some of the teams, very powerful teams, a single person is capable of doing the front end, the back end, and the database, and integration and deployment, and whatever you name it. That developer who can do an end-to-end functionality of any application you name it is called a full stack developer. Because previously there was a concept in which you used to have front-end developers, back-end developers, DBAs, that is the DB database administrators. Then you used to have operations team who take care of the integration and deployments, and then you used to have support team who takes care of production issues in case of the application shows some bugs or defects or appears to be faulty in the customer's environment. So we used to have different segregated teams sitting around serving small parts of the job, and all these teams together used to form the end-to-end application. But in a full stack environment, it is one single team that owns the application, and it's their baby. They take care of it. No other team involves in managing that application. Now, in order to build these front ends, back ends, databases, integration, and everything, we have a lot of variety of technologies that is available in the market today. But what technology would you go for, or what technology does a company go for, is completely a matter of choice based on what direction an organization is planning to take, or based on what is the real requirement of the application that you are building. So various aspects are considered when choosing a technology. The most sought after front-end technology that is available today and most widely used by the organization are React.js and AngularJS for the front end, and they are actually built upon the age-old HTML, JavaScript, and CSS style sheets, which is nothing new. It's the very old technology, but they have added some framework on making most optimal usage of these frameworks. Backend, you have got several ways of doing it. You can use Java, .NET, C, Sharp, any kind of programming. But in this episode and web series, we will be focusing on Java as the backend. And a lot of frameworks that come tied along with Java, which makes the programming more fun and more easy, is Spring Framework, Hibernate, and Maven. On the database side, we have MySQL, Oracle SQL, Microsoft SQL, Postgres SQL, a lot of various varieties. More or less everything is the same, just that minor differences in the syntax from a developer point of view. And of course, there are some underlying architectural differences, but yeah, we wouldn't be bothered about it because it's too early for us to mess about. That's pretty much for today. I hope I was able to convey what full stack programming is, what are the various layers of an application, and what a journey of a development team looks like. I have tried my best to put across in layman terminologies on how the programming and development world looks like. Hope I was successful. So in the next episode, we will talk more about the various job prospects and career paths that you can choose in this area. Until then, you take care and happy coding. Bye-bye.